Were you a Disney Channel kid or a Nickelodeon kid? What about a Cartoon Network kid? The late 90s and early 2000s were the golden age of children's television, with Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and Cartoon Network leading the charge in shaping young minds. Also, I'm talking about this era because this is the era that I grew up in, but it applies across the board even to this day. These channels didn't just air cartoons and sitcoms, they cultivated cultures reflecting the distinct worldviews and ultimately attracting different kinds of kids. Each channel had its own vibe, aesthetic, and target audience, creating a fascinating landscape of entertainment where a child's choice of channel said a lot about their personality, upbringing, and future aspirations. While Nickelodeon captured the chaotic, diverse, and slightly rebellious crowd, Disney Channel became a haven for suburban safety and structured fun, and Cartoon Network catered to the imaginative, artsy, and offbeat kids. Yet, for the ultimate code-switching kid, flipping through these three channels wasn't just entertainment, it was a masterclass in versatility. Nickelodeon was like the cool, scrappy kid on the block that always found a way to get in trouble, but not in a destructive way, but a adventurous kind of way. This channel wasn't polished, it was gritty and raw and unafraid to be a little weird. Shows like Hey Arnold exemplified this perfectly. Set in the middle of an unnamed neighborhood that was clearly inspired by big cities like New York and Chicago, Arnold and his ragtag group of friends came from all walks of life. There was Gerald, the cool black best friend with a perfect high top fade, and Helga, the chaotic mix of angst and unrequited love. The show oozed with authenticity with its jazzy influenced soundtrack that felt like it belonged on an old vinyl record. And then the show had this unvarnished portrayal of life struggles, from family tensions to urban decay. Nickelodeon didn't shy away from diversity, both in its stories and its audience. Shows like All That were sketch comedy boot camps for kids, introducing a young Kenan Thompson and Amanda Bynes, while featuring a musical lineup that ranged from TLC to Destiny's Child. Hip hop and R&B weren't just soundtracks, they were a part of the cultural DNA of Nickelodeon. Hell, Kenan and Kel's theme song was done by Coolio, and All That was done by TLC. Even when Nick veered into zanier territory like Rugrats or Rocko's Modern Life, there was still an edge to it. The dirt underneath the fingernails was metaphorical yet palpable. Even Nick's cleaner shows like The Amanda Show felt chaotic, as if you could see the writers frantically piecing together episodes with duct tape and adrenaline. Kids who grew up watching Nickelodeons were the ones who grew up climbing fences and getting yelled at for riding their bikes too far away from home. They were the kids that didn't just have one friend group, they floated between cliques with ease. Nickelodeon was for the messy, fun-loving kids who thrived on energy and weren't afraid to get into a little trouble. On the other hand, if Nickelodeon was the rebel kid in ripped jeans, Disney Channel was the straight-A students who always had a lunch packed by mom. It was squeaky clean, aspirational, and brimming with good-natured mischief, but always within the boundaries of parental approval. Disney Channel was made for the suburban kids whose parents kept a watchful eye on what they consumed. Shows like Even Stevens and Lizzie McGuire were charming and relatable, with storylines centered on middle-class suburban experiences that felt safe and cozy. Lizzie McGuire, for example, captured the essence of awkward adolescence in a way that felt polished yet universal. There were no grungy neighborhoods or existential crises here, just the relatable drama of trying to survive middle school with your best friends by your side. Even Stevens gave us Shia LaBeouf's Lewis, a lovable goofball, and Ren, an overachieving sister with a perfect balance of chaos and control within a perfectly manicured suburban setting. Even Disney Channel's original movies reflected this ethos. These weren't just stories, they were structured lessons with a spoonful of sugar to make it go down easier. Disney Channel kids were the ones who probably had a bedtime and brought snack packs to school. Their idea of rebellion was like staying up past 9 p.m. on a school night. And then there was Cartoon Network, the channel that felt like a surreal art gallery masquerading as kids programming. Cartoon Network's vibes were unapologetically weird, imaginative, and experimental. Shows like Dexter's Laboratory, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and Johnny Bravo were nothing like the sanitized adventures at Disney Channel or the urban grit of Cartoon Network. These were shows that were made for kids that saw the world a little differently. They were budding artists and future animators. These kids doodled in their notebooks instead of taking notes in class. Take Dexter's Laboratory, for example. It wasn't just about a boy genius with a secret lab. It was about a clash between logic and chaos, embodied by Dexter and his sister Dee Dee. Or Courage the Cowardly Dog, which somehow managed to be terrifying, poignant, and hilarious all at once. Cartoon Network didn't just entertain, it expanded the boundaries of what kids' television could be. And then there were the blocks like Toonami and Adult Swim. Toonami introduced a generation of kids to anime like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, planting the seeds that would later become full-blown fandoms for anime. Meanwhile, Adult Swim felt like the older sibling sneaking you into an R-rated movie. With its surreal and avant-garde shows like Aqua Team Hunger Force and Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Adult Swim catered to the kids who stayed up late questioning the universe and sketching strange creatures in their journals. Oddly enough, for a channel that mainly showed cartoons, Cartoon Network had the most mass appeal out of all three of these channels. Let's face it, after a certain age, you were more likely to not watch Disney and Nickelodeon than Cartoon Network. Whereas Cartoon Network attracted creative teenagers and adults as well as creative kids. And then of course there was the special kind of kid who enjoyed all three channels, seamlessly switching between them based on mood or time of day. These were the kids that could do it all. They could laugh at Nickelodeon's slapstick, enjoy Disney Channel's heartwarming lessons, and thrive in creative environments catered from Cartoon Network. These are the kids who grew up learning how to adapt, read the room, and appreciate different styles and perspectives. They spend one moment watching Rugrats reveling in the imaginative chaos of toddlers navigating life, then flip the channel to Lizzie McGuire to get a dose of middle school nostalgia. By nighttime, they tune into Toonami to watch Goku power up for seemingly the 1000th time. These kids learned early on that variety was the spice of life, and all of these channels were important. Nickelodeon was like the voice for a voiceless group of kids that were often ignored or chastised for just being themselves. Meanwhile, Disney Channel would hand out great life lessons that you could take to adulthood, all while fostering a sense of safety and warmth. And Cartoon Network allowed creative kids to be creative and spark their imagination in different ways. All three channels served their purpose, and you can totally tell what kind of kid watched all three of them. So, what kind of kid were you? Disney Channel? Nickelodeon? Cartoon Network? Or all three? Says a lot about you. It's almost like a personality test. I wonder if you can guess what kind of kid I was. Probably not.